Welcome to our Daily Portion with WIT Ministries. My name is Matt Russell, and I'm the Ministry Director at WIT Ministries. For more information about our ministry, you can go to our website at pursuitfortruth.com. That is Pursuit for Truth, all spelled out.com. Today's portion is Genesis 11, Universal Language, Babel, Confusion. Now the whole earth used the same language and the same words. It came about as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they used brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. They said, "Come, let us build for ourselves a city and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. And let us make for ourselves a name. Otherwise we will be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. The Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language." And this is what they began to do. And now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the whole earth. Descendants of Shem. These are the records of the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and became the father of Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived 500 years after he became the father of Arpachshad, and he had other sons and daughters. Arpachshad lived 35 years and became the father of Shelah. And Arpachshad lived 403 years after he became the father of Shelah, and he had other sons and daughters. Shelah lived 30 years and became the father of Eber. And Shelah lived 403 years after he became the father of Eber, and he had other sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. And Eber lived 430 years after he became the father of Peleg, and he had other sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Reu. And Peleg lived 209 years after he became the father of Reu, and he had other sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. And Reu lived 207 years after he became the father of Serug, and he had other sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nahor. And Serug lived 200 years after he became the father of Nahor, and he had other sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and became the father of Terah. And Nahor lived 109 years after he became the father of Terah, and he had other sons and daughters. Terah lived 70 years and became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the records of the generations of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran became the father of Lot. Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his birth in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives for themselves. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went out together from Ur of the Chaldeans in order to enter the land of Canaan, and they went as far as Haran and settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So it's obvious, of course, to see the generations that are being shown here. But first, we don't want to miss the Tower of Babel, or Babel. So we know the story of the Tower of Babel, that the people were coming together and they were trying to create a way that they could reach the heavens and therefore make something of themselves, because they knew that's where God rested. And so if God is reigning from heaven, we need to get to heaven. So they started working together, but they were all like-minded. They were all unified in speech and in thought, and therefore they had no issues. In fact, God himself said that because they are unified, there is nothing that is impossible for them to do. So why in the world, now at this point, God, because that is not something that he wants them to do at all, he scattered us. excuse me, he scattered us throughout the world, and he created different languages so that we all spoke different languages. So it's harder for us to unify. Now, some people would say, well, God divided us and because he doesn't want us to have success. And that's not true. The success that we were seeking was to be godlike. We should not be focused on becoming God. We should be focused on worshiping God and bringing his kingdom, not our own. One of the big faults of man is that we pursue our own kingdom for our own victories, for our own glory. And that is not our design. That is really a result of the fall. So God divided us enough to where we could still have community, but it wouldn't be in such strength that we would be able to do something like building a tower all the way to heaven. So in the division that he gave us different cultures or different nations, different places around the world where we would be able to congregate within our people and our community and grow from there. And his desire is for us to fully be unified in that community, worshiping him. Now, the enemy wants to take what God did further and divide us even farther. The enemy wants us to be so divided that it's a bunch of individuals that come together with different thoughts, different beliefs, different faiths, different opinions. They don't agree on anything. Therefore, it creates such a division that we can't get along. Now think, if we're unified, nothing is impossible for us. But if we're divided, we can't accomplish much of anything. So the enemy wants us to be divided amongst ourselves, and this inner squabbling really benefits him because it goes against God's desires and God's kingdom. So from that, the one who really led the charge at the Tower of Babel was Nimrod. Nimrod, when he died, he was the first human that they created a deity for. So Nimrod, became this deity, the sun god, and they began to worship him after his death because he was leading them into this great thing. So when Nimrod died, his wife began to do different ritualistic things to bring Nimrod back to life, to raise him from the dead. And she would do the sun god. She would do sunrise services or worship events to honor him, to bring him from the dead. She would slaughter pigs. And that was a big thing she did for the sunrise service. Now, you can see some of those traditions have fallen into Christianity, but it comes all the way back from the Tower of Babel. Now, Nimrod originally became known as Baal and became known as many of the other pagan deities. It's the same name, just a different, or it's the same person, just a different name. Going back to Nimrod. So when we are digging into pagan, just looking at different things that the pagans did, you'll find a lot that go all the way back into Genesis. So that's just a little information about the Tower of Babel. But now going into this next part with the generations, you saw, of course, the lineage that went straight from Shem to Abram. And Abram took Sarai, and Sarai was barren. But they moved from Ur, the land of Ur of the Chaldeans. Now, at this time, the Chaldeans were a people that are nomadic. They have no place that they really call their own. They will go and they will destroy. They will go in and attack villages or people and kill everyone and then just loot the place and then take off. They don't stick around. They don't take any claim to territory. So the Chaldeans actually means disembodied people. So they are a people without a home, basically. But that is the same term that they used for demons. So the Chaldeans are they are symbolic of the demons, the enemy, the fallen, or the demons, the spirits of the Nephilim that did not die in the flood, because the spirits can't die. Demons, not created by God. So the Chaldeans, were going to see their name come up a few times throughout the Bible. By the time it gets to the time of Daniel, they have already been wiped out, and there are no more Chaldean groups or villages. No more Chaldeans. They were completely scattered and absorbed by other nations. But Nebuchadnezzar is one that they said he was of the Chaldean descent. So you can know that this place where Abram came from, Ur of the Chaldeans, he has been dwelling in the land of the demonic enemies. And he is leaving that land to go to the land of Canaan, which is the promised land. So taken from the evil of this world and directed to move to a place that God is going to create as a wonderful land flowing with milk and honey and very fertile. So those spiritual symbolisms will become more evident as we continue reading through the Torah. Well, Father, thank you for this chapter today in Genesis, and I'm thankful for the fact that you showed us and warned us about the ways of the pagans, and how that you needed to divide us so that we would not be unified in trying to build our own kingdom. Father, I pray that we could always be kingdom focused for your kingdom. Everything that we do is to glorify you, and we're thankful that you took us from the land of the enemy and led us straight into the promised land. That shows us also leaving this world and moving on to the next one in heaven with you. So I pray for all of everyone listening, many blessings, and I pray it all in Jesus' name.